Hello, everybody. Edward Carbajal here for MMAnews.com. This is Sunday submission number 4. It is August 2nd, the Sunday after the UFC's return to the Apex. Obviously, you guys know a lot of stuff happened there. Once again, apologies for the background and the room that I'm in. If you all don't know, I'm from New Jersey. It is already 90 degrees early on Sunday, and we're expecting tornadoes and hot and humid haze and all that nonsense. So I got to keep the equipment in the room with the air conditioning in it. So that's why I'm not where I did the first couple of Sunday submissions, which is where I would normally do them from, because New Jersey is winter 8 months out of the year anyway. So that's the room that I would normally do it from. But anyway, so lots to talk about as we come out of July and enter August. Obviously, everyone's focused on most of our content on MMAnews.com. Oh, before I get going, this is MMAnews.com's YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe. Vicente Luque, who picked up a win last night. Cole Shelton had a convo with him before that fight, so be sure and go and check that out. We have more interviews coming as events move forward. So, again, the UFC's back in Las Vegas. They had their return event at the Apex last night, so we're going to get into that. But coming out of July, as sports resume and mostly combat sports have been able to put things together. Invicta FC 41 results are also on the site MMAnews.com. If you go check it out, Montserrat Ruiz. I should know how to say her name. I'm Mexican. And she had that really nice submission win in the main event of Invicta FC 41. A nice little key lock from Kesagatami position. If you don't know it, now you do. That's that scarf hold position that she got that funky key lock. They locked the arm like this underneath both legs and torqued the elbow up, and hammerlock, key lock, whatever you want to call it. No matter what you call it, the submission hurts, and Janessa had to tap. So that's what happened with Invicta. They did their last event for July. LFA also held their last event for July. Bryce Logan became their new lightweight champion. I think they're doing 3 more next month, they announced. There's going to be a welterweight title. Vinicius de Jesus, he's like the CES welterweight champion. I think he's going to go fight for their title over there. LFA, the reason why I bring it up is because a lot of guys come off of the LFA roster into the UFC. If you follow Dana White's Contender Series, which is takes place from the Apex, they're going to be doing their UFC events, and Apex is busy in August, and that's one of the events. That's one of the many events that they'll be holding from there, provided hopefully Nevada doesn't make them pull plugs on anything with the COVID-19 situation, which it's hard not to talk about it when you're talking about sports. And Dana White made some comments last night in the post-fight press conference after their return to the Apex. So I'm going to address those two. I actually just wrote something up from the post-fight press conference this morning, but I'll get into that in a minute. I just want to make sure I got everything off my list as far as the sport of mixed martial arts, and not just the UFC, which is LFA's return, Invicta FC 41. We got that out of the way. I put out a tweet before I started recording this on Twitter. So if you don't follow me, make sure that you do, at Carbazal. It's spelled Carbazalel. Sorry. In case anybody wanted something mentioned on here, I'm just checking to see if. Oh, Jesus Christ! I should have muted that. I'll do that now. Just before, in case there's something, because sometimes I hate it when I record this and then there's something I left out. I try to keep it, around 30 minutes for you guys, as I know you guys have things to do on Sundays, like sit around and get fat. I'm joking. That's what I'd like to be doing, but actually I don't want to be fat. But anyway, that's besides the point. So boxing came back. Boxing's back. MMA's been back. So before we get into what happened at the they lost, I don't know how many fights right up until the the fight was supposed to happen. If you saw during the ESPN Plus broadcast, by the way, which it was that was last night's broadcast, the Brunson Shahbazyan event. If you if you don't have ESPN Plus and you didn't catch it by any other means, they are going to rebroadcast that tonight on ESPN2 at 8 o'clock. So I don't have ESPN Plus, and I was with my family doing things, so I'm going to get the details outside of the highlights and stuff that I did see. So I'm going to be watching that tonight. So if you didn't catch it, tonight's your and you're not an ESPN Plus subscriber, tonight is your night to catch it. If you ain't got nothing going on, none of your baseball games didn't get canceled or whatever the hell else you watch outside of combat sports, they're rebroadcasting that on ESPN2 tonight. So anyway, Derek Brunson was like not the favorite in this, which I mean, I gotta brag a little bit because I actually had him picked to win by the third round by TKO, and that's pretty much how he won. So you know, the UFC has a track record of hyping folks. You know, they put a promotional machine behind someone. Sometimes it pays off because at the end of the day, you know, and I'm sure a lot of fighters will probably disagree with me, or I'm sorry, agree with me on this. At the end of the day, you know, it's a sport about competition and fighting in the cage. So at the end of the day, as long as you're racking up the wins, you can't be ignored. You know, I know there's folks trying to get, you know, like Aljamain Sterling's a perfect example. He's self-corrected after the last loss he had against Marlon Moraes. He beat a bunch of guys. He's right there, so, and there's people standing behind him. So at the end of the day, you can't argue when you rack up the wins. You know, you can't make a case for hyping anyone else but you know, the person that's picking up wins. And Brunson picked up a win last night. I know he didn't do well when he fought Adesanya, and he addressed that in the post-fight press conference. And you know, the marketing machine was behind Edmund Shahbazyan, the whole Ronda Rousey connection. I mean, it's weird because you know, they did the same thing for her. You look at her last fight in the UFC, they marketed her return, her comeback, and all that, and pushed it, and Amanda Nunes spoiled that return. And you know, Eric Brunson wasn't shy about admitting that he spoiled the party for Shahbazyan as they were trying to push him up the ladder. The reason why I picked Brunson was because for the very reason that it looks like he won. I mean, if you look at Brunson's losses, he lost to a lot of, I mean, he lost to Adesanya, a lot of like champions, former champions, guys ranked higher than him. So, and his record was, you know, he's actually, you know, fight in cage fight time, he had more experience. So it might have been, not that I don't think Shahbazyan is going to do well in the future. I think James Lynch, who does a lot of interviews for us, noted that he's only 22 years old. So we're going to see him. It's just, you know, not right now. You know what I mean? Happens. But you know, they lost a bunch of fights as the weigh-ins were going on. I think on Friday or Saturday, if I checked the temperature in Vegas. When I saw that happening, I was like, this can't be COVID. They're weight cutting in extreme heat, and I think that probably has a lot to do with the people passing out. I know anxiety has to do with it too. I mean, competing in during a pandemic, especially if it was your first time competing, you know, it's probably more anxiety than what you expect walking into a situation where you know you're going to take some damage as you try to inflict damage, because that's the nature of the sport. I mean, it is controlled violence, you know. So the which leads me to everything that happened with last night's event. It was supposed to be like 13, 14 fights, and they lost so many that it was down to 8. And then right up until the fight with Kevin Holland and Giles passed out as he was making his way in. So, and then we found out later in the evening after the fight, Joanne Calderwood and Jennifer Maya, after Maya submitted her, Calderwood had to be transported to the hospital because she passed out afterward. So I think it was like 111 degrees when I checked the temperature. It was, I'm pretty sure I checked yesterday afternoon. So, I mean, cutting weight and then you have that extreme. I mean, I know folks did it in Abu Dhabi, but Abu Dhabi, and Vegas, I'm sure the Apex has just the great climate control and stuff like that. I mean, if you've been to Vegas, and I personally like the heat. I mean, not the heat. I don't like this heat in New Jersey right now because of the humidity. And this is my old man status coming out. But there is a difference between how your body handles it. Like I don't mind Vegas in July, but New Jersey in July bothers me, and the humidity just drains so much more fluid out of you. So when you think about all these fighters cutting weight to make their weight, some of these fighters cut 20, 30 pounds, you know, to get to their competition weight. So and then the stress of fighting and pushing themselves and stuff like that. It's a lot to ask, which is why, I mean, and now I'm going off on a tangent, but when you look at that fighter pay, they definitely don't get paid enough for what they put their bodies through. So that's that's definitely something to make note of. But now the funny thing about, and I think I did address this last Sunday on last Sunday's Sunday submission. The funny thing about competing during a pandemic is the opportunities seem to be coming out of nowhere. At the post-fight press conference last night, Dana White was asked about what's next for Brunson, what's next for, Shahbazyan and so, and a lot of his replies were, I don't know, because, again, when you look at the way they used to make fights versus how they have to make fights now, travel restrictions are involved. So who's around and who's healthy is seems to carry more weight than rankings and anything else. And I know we've complained about rankings in the past, but right now, I mean, you kind of got to make the fights that you can make, right? So because they asked, well, what's next for Brunson after this? I mean, Brunson said he'd like to look at Cannonier, the winner of Cannonier and Whitaker. He mentioned Darren Till because he's a name, but Darren Till's knee is still messed up from that fight when he fought Whitaker. So, which is crazy. I just feel like this whole situation, 2020 is such a strange year. Whitaker's usually the one that'll win a fight and be broken after and have to be pulled, but he's already got his next fight booked. I mean, when you look at the recent history, I don't want to say that's been their history all the time. Um, so, and then, so the article I wrote today, just talking about weird times, the article I wrote today. So with sports coming back, obviously boxing, MMA, pro wrestling, all that stuff's been moving ahead since like mid-April. I forget when they booked UFC 249, but we'll say UFC 249, make that the starting point of sports somewhat returning. MMA kind of, I mean, has been the front runner. Combat sports, we'll say, has been the front runner because they've created their protocols, and then with the help of the commissions and stuff and medical staff, like I mentioned last week, how Bellator returned, and they have their section, the Mohegan Sun, Showtime Boxing. They're using the same arena because it's all under this Viacom CBS banner, but they have the protocol set. I wanted to go. I know I mentioned that I wanted to go cover that event, which I did want to go cover that event, but logistically, the timing for me that I could get to Mohegan Sun and do the coverage, there's protocol in line that they already have. Logistically, I would get there and have to self quarantine to cover stuff, and it's not going to make sense for me to go if I'm stuck in my room right up until the event happens. You can see that online or on Paramount when they broadcast. So I did try to secure some interviews remotely, so hopefully we'll get those later this week as we approach Bellator 243. But the point I'm making is the thing that Dana White, so they asked him, you can read the article on MMAnews.com, but he was asked about his opinion with baseball, Major League Baseball, which looks like it's I mean, if you want to even call it a piece of a season, with all the things having to get postponed and canceled right when they started, that they're not following, they're not doing the things that they should be doing. And one of the things that seems to be the thing that stands out the most is if you look at what I just mentioned with Mohegan Sun, Bellator, and Showtime Boxing, they have that bubble and they're using the same bubble. It's a controlled group. Showtime Boxing and their staff. So even though if you looked at they're mixing the two, it's still a controlled group. Um, Fighters that are being sent over, they're being tested before they even leave now. Some of them are being tested before they get on the plane. Then they're tested when they get here because, air travel is probably the worst scenario for to catch COVID. Excuse me, if you're going to catch it. Sorry, it's hot as balls, so I got to keep hydrated. I'm from Jersey, so excuse my vernacular. Anyway, so when you look at that, that seems to be the mistake that baseball. I don't know why they can't just pick one. I mean, and it's teams too. I don't know what they're doing with their staff or whatever. But all the cases, I mean, they've gotten more cases. You look at all the COVID cases that have popped up for combat sports. The Bellator had the Steve Mowry that they had to pull from their first event back. I think the UFC has hold. I lost count because of all the ESPN Fight Night and Plus and regular, and I've already forgotten and lost count of the names of their events outside of the pay-per-view numbers. But it's only a handful of cases that have popped up, and they catch them before anything happens. Again, this return was weird. I would say the heat and probably had something to do with that, but the whole point was, one of the things that Dana White said is, like, you have to have the bubble. You have to have your own bubble. Like if NBA has their one arena, that's where all the teams are going or whatever. Everyone gets tested leading up to, I don't know what baseball is doing. I don't follow that sport. I'm not a big fan of the stick and ball sports as a whole. I was breaking I was breaking my podcast co-host balls about that earlier because he brought up baseball during the podcast. But I mean, look what's happening though. Like you do have to. I don't know if it's a thing that they don't want to spend the money. That this is my own opinion. Dana White kind of hinted at it, but he didn't say anything. This is me saying it. I don't know if it's a thing about spending money or not wanting to spend money, but there's a reason UFC, Bellator, boxing. All these regional promotions, Invicta, LFA that I've just mentioned. CFFC is coming back soon here in Jersey, I think towards the end of August, provided our numbers don't spike. If you listen to my jackass governor, though, he'll tell you that the world is ending every 5 minutes. So that's just me. I don't like to get political, but I haven't been able to train as much as I like to. But yeah. So he mentioned his comments on the troubles baseball is having. So if they're not doing that, it's time to do it. I mean, even if you look at AEW, they're still in Jacksonville using the same arena, and I think they've maybe had two or three wrestlers get COVID, and they've kept them out of it. Like I think Jon Moxley has been pushed out until he recovered from his COVID situation. I think it's his wife or something. I don't follow pro wrestling all that, closely. But the point is, bubble. You got to have a bubble. If you don't have a bubble in your plans, baseball folks, then time to get one. I was gonna make a Dr. Fauci joke because I know he threw a ball out and was breathing on people. But again, I'm not trying to get political on here, but I'm sure I'll get blamed for that. And you can direct those at my Twitter. So the other funny thing I thought that happened during the event was that after weigh-ins on Friday after the weigh-ins, Dana White was asked about his the whole Herb Dean Dan Hardy thing, and then that day there was something that happened at UAE Warriors 12 where Mark Goddard, I forget the fighter's name. Mark Goddard got attacked by a fighter that wouldn't let go of a choke. It's like I'm seeing his name, Al-Dawari, Al-Darkers, something like that. Anyway, he got disqualified because he won the fight. He got a rear naked choke submission, but when the ref came to stop it, when Goddard came to stop it and grab him, even had to tap him. If the referee has to fight you off of someone, you're holding on too long, But that's what happened, and he got this. Not only did that happen, but then he got mad at Mark Goddard for grabbing on him and forcing him off the guy that he wouldn't let go of, to the point that he pushed him. So that happened early because that was still in Abu Dhabi. That happened early on Friday as the weigh-ins were going on here in Vegas, or in the United States. Excuse me. And someone asked Dana White about the Dan Hardy, Herb Dean incident, and that happened that same day. So Dana White made it a point. He thanked the reporter for bringing it up, and he let the UFC staff know if anybody comes at an official like that, anyone that works for the UFC, that works for him, that comes at an official like that, is going to be fired on the spot. So stern warning to anyone that's involved with the UFC that gets crazy like that. And again, I mean, I know I mentioned it last week on last week's Sunday Submission, but it's a weird time to be an official in a silent arena. And I really do agree with Herb Dean's point about if you yell stuff out, you're going to distract the official from looking to see who's saying that. Like who's talking right now? Is that the doctor? Should I stop this right now? That being said, I thought it was funny that Dana White was critical of the doctor. I think it was for the Shahbazyan fight, the main event. He was critical of how long the doctor took to make sure the fighter was okay, and I think he called the doctor inexperienced when that happened. So it's a little bit of irony there, but still nobody yelled at anybody, and obviously I would think after a warning like that, nobody would be yelling at anybody, because they want to keep, with everything going on, nobody wants to lose their job, but it's hard not to. I mean, at home we scream. I mean, I'll tell you what, I wish I could do the event coverage this week, but when I do event coverage at events, you know how hard it is. I mean, there's folks that sit next to me. You can ask guys from Junkie and stuff that have sat next to me at events, my MMA news. Sometimes I'm clenching I'm doing this because I'm stopping myself from blurting something out, because as media you're supposed to be objective. You're not supposed to be standing up and clapping your hands and all that fanboy stuff, as much as we are fans, because at the end of the day, people would like to throw titles of journalists on themselves, but we're fans of the sport. All of us here at MMAnews.com, we're at the end of the day, we're fans of the sport. I mean we're writing about half naked people fighting in a cage. Like, some people need to slow their rolls. And I know the folks that like to put the journalist label on themselves will probably shit on me for that. But sorry, I didn't mean to curse. But like I said, I'm from Jersey and it's hot. What do you want me to do? But anyway, that's it's hard to control your fandom if that's what you do. You know what I mean? If even as fighters and stuff, it's hard to control yourself, especially if you've trained. Even if you're a fighter cornering someone, I mean, they're the only ones that should be making noise anyway. And I kind of think it's cool that the fan lists, we get to hear the corners a lot more clearly. Get to hear the fighters talking trash a lot more clearly. But yeah, man, it's a crazy time. But I thought that was a funny little bit of irony that happened between Dana White saying that and then having that happen the night of the event, and him being critical of someone that's on the under the banner of official. But he didn't voice it during the fights or anything like that. So there's that. But yeah, I mean, as the sports move forward, it looks like and the time that MMA used to be like the redheaded stepchild of sports and being brought into people's households in the 25, 26 years that the combat sport, mixed martial arts in particular, have evolved. It looks like we're doing some things, right, that folks need to start following the lead of. So it's crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if when things get back to normal, if the prices of MMA tickets go up, and you see more and more sold out arenas, not just for the UFC, but other promotions and even the regionals. There's not a lot we need our escapes during the time of Corona, and I for one am thankful that mixed martial arts and combat sports has been providing that for us. I mean, it's not every day I get to watch MMA with my mom and dad. My dad's always a boxer back in the day, so he still prefers boxing more than mixed martial arts. But I think I can bring him around. It's it's fun. It's been some parts of it's been fun, and I know I'm not trying to make light of the coronavirus situation or anything. I really do hope we can get back to some normalcy come the fall, maybe like November-ish. But yeah, and I think that's about it for this week's Sunday submission. This is the fourth one. I'm always open to feedback. You can flame me if you want. I haven't seen any comments. I don't control the YouTube, so I don't know if comments are turned off on you. But please leave comments, and if you can't leave them there, by all means, you can tweet them at me at Carbazel. It's Carbazel, and MMA News is at MMA News _com on Twitter. Those are both the Twitter handles. And if you like to follow my podcast, I do get I get a lot of fighters on there and stuff too, and it's a little more open. I know I dropped an S bomb, a feces bomb here on MMAnews.com Sunday submission, but I'm a little more relaxed over there and less restricted. So if you want to follow my podcast, Coast to Coast Combat Hour, please do. And looking forward to more fights this weekend. Of course, there's the UFC's moving ahead. Friday's Bellator 243. And again, I'm working on getting some interviews for that. But if I don't get them, you can be damn sure that Cole Shelton and James Linsell will get them. So make sure you like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Enjoy your Sunday. If you're going to brunch, if you're on the East Coast and you're Isaias, whatever the name of this hurricane tropical storm that's coming to hit us, make sure you shelter, stay safe, wear your mask. I'll do all the stuff to keep everyone else healthy, alive, and breathing. And that is it for me. I am tapping out. MMAnews.com. Sunday submission. Peace.